The crystal chandeliers in Mom's dining room threw soft, golden light across the long mahogany table, her pride and joy. Every time I sat here, I noticed something new that reminded me how different my world was from hers: the imported Italian plates, the Belgian linen napkins folded with military precision, the enormous floral centerpiece that probably cost more than a month of rent in my neighborhood. Mom loved hosting dinners like this. They made her feel powerful, important, refined. And tonight's dinner, though officially called a family gathering, was clearly arranged to showcase Rachel's engagement to the investment banker sitting beside her. Rachel, as always, looked flawless. Her designer dress shimmered under the chandelier. Her nails matched her lipstick. And that engagement ring, a 3-carat diamond, caught the light every time she gestured, which she did often. Devin, her fiancé, sat tall and polished, cutting his Wagyu beef like it was part of a performance. He had the calm confidence of a man used to being taken seriously. "So, Emma," he began, offering me a polite, almost pitying smile. "Rachel mentioned you're still doing the art thing." I took a small bite of asparagus, mostly to buy time. "I paint." "Yes." "How charming," Mom said before I could continue. She topped off her wine glass, though she'd barely taken 3 sips. "We just keep hoping she'll grow out of it. She's 32 now." Rachel let out a laugh, sharp, rehearsed, the kind of laugh meant to signal to everyone else that something was ridiculous. Mom's being diplomatic. Emma lives in a studio apartment in the warehouse district. She wore the same dress to the last 3 family events. I looked down at my navy dress. It was simple, comfortable, and yes, familiar. "It's comfortable." "Exactly the problem," Marcus said without raising his eyes from his phone. He was scrolling through cryptocurrency charts. "No doubt, no ambition, no drive, just painting things nobody wants." Devin shifted slightly, caught between politeness and his natural tendency to agree with the majority. "Well, the arts are important for culture and things." "She's never sold a single piece," Mom added, waving her fork in my direction like she was presenting evidence. "Not one. 32 years old and she's never earned a real paycheck." I set down my fork gently. The salmon on my plate was delicate, seasoned perfectly, and wildly overpriced. I could stretch the cost of this meal into a week's worth of supplies for my studio. "I've sold pieces," I said. Rachel's eyes narrowed, and her tone sharpened. "To who?" "Your art school friends who also can't pay rent." "Various collectors." Marcus finally looked up, eyebrows raised in mock interest. "Collectors? Is that what we're calling people who buy things at garage sales now?" Mom pressed on with the confidence of someone who believed she was right simply because she'd spoken the longest. "Emma, at some point you need to accept reality. Your father and I paid for 4 years at an excellent university. You could have done anything: business, law, medicine. Instead, you chose art. And look where that got you." "She can't even afford a car," Rachel added. "She takes the bus everywhere. Can you imagine? The bus." Devin tried to help, though it only made things worse. "Well, public transportation is actually very efficient." Rachel touched his arm like he was a confused child. "You're sweet, but no, it's embarrassing. Emma, you could work at Dad's firm, receptionist. Maybe, at least you'd have health insurance." "I have health insurance," I said. "Through the government exchange," Mom corrected, as though I had a contagious illness. "Because you qualify as low income. Do you know how that reflects on this family?" I took a sip of water. The baccarat glass chimed lightly. Everything in this house seemed designed to remind you of its price. "She showed up to my engagement party in an Uber," Rachel said in a whisper that wasn't a whisper at all. "Not even Uber Black. Regular Uber." "I don't own a car," I replied. "Exactly," Marcus said triumphantly. "Because you can't afford one. You're living paycheck to paycheck." "Oh wait, what paycheck?" "You're surviving on whatever random people give you for paintings they probably used to cover wall stains." Mom sighed dramatically, the kind of sigh that implied deep disappointment. "We had such hopes for you, Emma. You were so bright in school. Remember that essay contest you won in 10th grade? We thought you'd be a writer or a professor, something respectable. Instead, she paints," Rachel added, taking a sip of wine. "Landscapes, portraits, nothing even original." I began. And don't get me started on her studio. Mom interrupted. I visited once. The building should be condemned. Concrete floors, exposed pipes, no proper heating. She cooks on a hot plate like some. It has character, I said quietly. It has roaches, Mom snapped. I saw 3 of them, in broad daylight. Devon paused mid-bite, looking like he wanted to disappear. Well, I'm sure Emma is doing what makes her happy, and isn't happiness. Happy doesn't pay bills, Marcus cut in. Happy doesn't build equity. Happy doesn't prepare for retirement. You know what she has in her 401k? Nothing. 0. I checked. Wait, you checked my retirement account? Mom gave me access. He said simply, someone has to monitor the family's financial health. You're a liability. Emma, a 32-year-old liability with paint under her fingernails and delusions about making it as an artist. Rachel leaned forward, letting her ring catch the chandelier light. It's sad, honestly. Devon's sister is a doctor. His brother's a partner at a consulting firm. And then there's you, the failed artist who can't even afford to frame her work. I frame my pieces, I said. With what? Popsicle sticks? Marcus laughed loudly at his own joke. Mom reached across the table and placed her hand over mine with exaggerated tenderness. Sweetheart, we're not trying to hurt you. We're trying to help. You're not going to make it as an artist. It's time to grow up. Get a stable job. Maybe meet a nice man with a career. Devon, doesn't your firm have openings for administrative assistants? I'd have to check, Devon said, looking deeply uncomfortable. See? Opportunities, Mom said brightly. You could work in a proper office, wear real business clothes, contribute to society. Isn't that better than playing pretend in that dreadful studio, acting like you're the next Picasso? I never compared myself to Picasso. Because you couldn't, Rachel said immediately. Picasso was successful. Picasso sold paintings. Picasso didn't live in an old warehouse with questionable wiring and take the bus to buy ramen noodles. The dining room felt smaller than usual. It wasn't. Of course, Mom's house was huge. As always, the ceilings soared. The moldings gleamed. The chandeliers sparkled with the kind of brilliance that required professional cleaning crews twice a month. But something about the air felt tighter, heavier, like the walls themselves were listening. Marcus was still scrolling through the Forbes article, his thumb moving faster and faster, his posture stiffening the more he read. He had gone silent in that dangerous way he did when a puzzle was rearranging itself inside his head. Across from him, Rachel sat frozen, fork still suspended midair as if gravity had simply given up on her. Devon, usually composed even under pressure, shifted his gaze between the iPad and my face with a slowly growing realization, as if the ground beneath him was tilting and he hadn't yet found where to place his feet. Mom was the only one still clinging to denial, though her voice trembled every time she spoke. Meridian built their career systematically, Devon read aloud, still scrolling, started with small galleries, built a reputation on quality and consistency. Prices increased gradually as demand grew. A strategic, long-term plan rather than hype. He paused, squinting. It says here their earliest buyers included several anonymous philanthropists. No publicity at all. Complete privacy. Mom snorted. Sounds pretentious. Or smart. Devon countered gently. Mystery sells. Collectors love a hidden genius. Every gallery dreams of representing artists like this, successful, consistent, impossible to imitate. Marcus leaned across the table and snatched the iPad. The movement was so sharp it made Rachel flinch. Let me see what kind of paintings sell for millions, he muttered. His expression shifted as he examined one painting after another, first skeptical, then confused, then troubled. He zoomed in on a particular canvas and stared at it for a long, silent moment. What? Rachel demanded, tapping her fingernails anxiously against her wine glass. What is it? Why are you making that face? These paintings, Marcus whispered. These techniques, the metallic layering, the controlled chaos, the texture. He looked up at me slowly. I've seen this before. Mom frowned. Where? Marcus didn't look away from me. In her studio. All eyes swung toward me. I felt my heart thud once, then fall into a calm, steady rhythm. I'd known this moment would arrive someday, but not here, not like this. with lobster bisque cooling in front of us and Mom's crystal glasses reflecting too much light. Rachel rolled her eyes, desperate. Oh, come on. So she uses metallic paint sometimes. That doesn't mean. No, Marcus said sharply. This is identical. The exact blend. The same underpainting. The same lighting play. I remember watching you create something like this when I visited your studio 2 years ago. I placed my spoon gently onto my plate. Lots of artists use similar methods, I replied quietly. Not like this, he insisted. This is the same hand, the same mind. Emma, where is your studio, exactly? The warehouse district. Which building? The old textile factory. Marcus stared at me. The one on Meridian Street? Yes. Rachel's fork clattered loudly onto her plate. Mom inhaled sharply, a sound halfway between a gasp and a denial. That's just a coincidence, Mom said, though her voice shook. Devin grabbed the iPad back and typed rapidly. I'm looking up the building owners. It says the property was purchased 8 years ago and converted into artist studios. Owner listed as M.E. Holdings LLC. Rachel blinked fast, her lipstick-smudged mouth falling open. M.E. as in. Devin kept typing, then abruptly stopped. It's registered to Emma M. Thatcher. Silence spread across the table like a slow-moving avalanche. Rachel recovered first, but not really. She was shaking. No, that's impossible. Emma is poor. She takes buses. She wears the same dress. I adjusted the sleeve of that very dress. I take the bus because I don't like driving, and I wear this dress because I don't care about fashion. Not everything is about money. But you make art, Rachel whispered, as if the word itself were a curse. That's not supposed to make money. It does if people want it, I answered. Devin cleared his throat, scanning the article again. Forbes estimates Meridian's net worth somewhere between $800 million and $1.2 billion. Mom's hand jerked. Her wine glass nearly toppled. Rachel looked at me like I'd personally rewritten the laws of physics. Marcus was still scrolling quickly. Says here Meridian owns the entire building, uses it as studio and gallery space, and, holy, Emma, you rent to other artists? 12 of them, I said, below market rate. I wanted to give people opportunities I never had. Mom's voice came out strangled. But you said you had terrible heating, that you used a hot plate. I have a full kitchen, I corrected, but I keep a hot plate in the main studio. It's easier when I'm working overnight. And the roaches? Rachel said desperately. Mom told us. I was housing 3 visiting artists who mentioned roaches from their old place. I explained. Mom misunderstood. I didn't add that she hadn't stayed long enough to ask any actual questions. Marcus kept scrolling, his eyes widening. Emma, museums write about you. Critics praise you. People pay millions to get on your waiting list. 5-year waiting list, I corrected gently. Even Devin looked stunned. You sold over $300 million worth of art last year alone. That was a good year, I admitted. Mom looked like she'd been slapped. But you never said. I tried, I said softly, but you all assumed my work was a hobby, so I stopped trying. The room felt thick now, dense, bitter. Rachel grabbed at the last scraps of denial like a drowning person clutching air. But you wore the same dress 3 times. I own 12 dresses, I repeated calmly. I rotate them. This one's machine washable, that's all. Marcus shook his head. You own a building worth $42 million, and you paid cash. I nodded. Devin flipped to another page. This says you donated $15 million to arts programs last year. I believe in supporting young artists. Mom swallowed hard. But we thought you were struggling. You thought I was failing, I corrected, because it made you feel better about your choices. A server approached to clear plates, pausing when she saw the Forbes article on Devin's iPad. Her eyes went wide. Oh my God, she whispered. Meridian? I love their work. It changed my life. She turned, and her gaze met mine. Recognition flashed. Her breath caught. Oh my God, you're them. That's not public yet, I said gently. She pressed a hand to her chest. I won't tell anyone, I swear. You're incredible. I smiled. Thank you, truly. She hurried away, leaving behind a silence my family didn't know how to fill. Mom clutched her wine like a lifeline. Rachel stared at nothing. Marcus's brain was clearly overheating. Devin looked like he'd just witnessed a miracle. And I? I simply breathed. For the first time in that house, in that family, in that room, I didn't feel small.